Welcome back to another episode of With Sonar. I'm your host, Luke Velasca, of course, joined by my co-host, Kyle Taylor. It's Wednesday. We're live. We got a fantastic lineup for you today. Of course, we're going to be taking a look at the incredible market and how it continues to evolve day after day. We've also got some really big news in the freight world, especially on the ocean side. We've got one of the largest drug busts in history on at a U.S. ocean port. We've got carriers throwing their customers to the wind. Are they in complete control? We're going to find out. But first, Kyle, it's June, and listen, okay? We're very close to the Olympics. I'm a big Olympics guy. I don't know if you are, but like for me, like that's like one of the things that that's my childhood. Not because I participated in the Olympics or ever will, but it's just something I always grew up watching. I'm super excited for. Are you an Olympics watcher? You don't strike me as one.
Take a breath, my guy. No,
dude, I'm excited, okay?
I'm actually not that excited. So I will be the complete opposite. I actually have not really looked at anything. As soon as it comes on,
that's okay.
Not
everybody's perfect.
But yeah, who's perfect, me or you?
Yeah. What?
Is it because you were a swimmer?
I was a swimmer, actually. I still know how to swim slightly, just a little bit. But
no, so you bring up the Olympics. What's caught your eye? What are you focusing on?
So I'm a big swimmer, right? I swam all my life. I swam through college, so I do kind of, I do have sort of a biased appreciation for the swimmers. But I love the track and field stuff. Love the gymnastics. I mean, I'll watch everything that I can. I'll watch as much as I can. I'll watch, the rowing, the weightlifting, volleyball. Anything that I can.
Right.
Heck, I'll watch equestrian if that's the only thing that's on. I just love the Olympics. But yeah, right now I'm specifically watching the U.S. Olympic trials for swimming.
Swimming's
a big one. I also watch Australia's trials a little bit right now because they're going on at the same time as the U.S.
Okay.
But the difference is because of the time change, theirs are on in the morning for us and ours are on at night. So I get a little bit of both.
So you a big Michael Phelps guy?
I'm a big Michael Phelps guy. I grew up watching him, grew up idolizing him.
Did you do your arm swing when you were setting up to?
I wasn't that flexible. Also a lot shorter than him.
Yeah, my left arm was a little bit more flexible than the right, so I ended up looking just
exactly.
I
kind of look like an albatross with one wing broken. But no, I see. I know everybody in the world knows Michael Phelps' name, and he's obviously, I love him. There's a lot of other swimmers in that world too that I follow a lot. Being close to the sport, but I'm just excited for it, man. I get excited for it. It jazzes me up. I'm just gonna watch as much of it as I can. But in just 7 years, because we took an extra year for this Olympics, just 7 years, the U.S. is gonna host.
Really?
That's right.
Have they announced like an area or just saying?
L.A. They won the bid for the 2028 Olympics.
Oh, jeez.
They in 2024, so just 3 years from now, I believe Paris won it. So it's in Tokyo, obviously, for these games. Going to be exciting. It's been a while since it's been in Japan, and then we got Paris followed by LA. The last time it was in the U.S. was, I believe, the '96 Olympics in Atlanta.
Yeah, no, I think so. That was a big deal. So that's going to cause a lot of. Hopefully some good changes in LA. I mean, infrastructure, things with these big things happening, even from, because I even know from Tampa when we had the Super Bowl came, you had Stanley Cup finals, you got the women's Final Four for NCAA basketball, you had all of that happen in like a 2-year period. So what happened? All the roads got fixed, everything got new plants, everything got spruced up a little bit. So it was always a good thing for that area.
Well, let's think about it from a logistics perspective, right? So think about how much has to happen. Obviously, LA, they have a ton of infrastructure already built, right? They've got a ton of facilities.
Right.
They might have to add a few more facilities, maybe update a couple, but they do have a lot of facilities already. They do have to have housing. They'll probably have to update some housing, maybe add a little bit more for the village, for the athletes.
Essential transportation.
Transportation's a big thing to get people to and from things. But just think about, like, in order to prepare for that, because you do have to prepare years in advance, think about you've got tons of shipments and resources that are going to have to come into the area to expand things. You're going to have to add a lot of stadium seating. They tend to expand the stadiums. That's a lot of equipment to bring into an area, especially an area where traffic is not good.
Exactly, and then what's happening there in the port? You got all of these containers that are going to be coming in, and so not only do we have everything just at a standstill there, but what else do we have? I think
speaking of the port,
speaking of vessel lines,
I'm gonna talk a little bit longer and then I'm gonna shut up. So So, like I said earlier, one of the biggest, actually the biggest drug bust in history at a U.S. port. In the 230 years that the Port Association has been measuring things, it's the largest one. So, article, you can read it on FreightWaves.com. 20 tons of Coke.
Coca-Cola?
20 tons of Coke.
20 tons of cocaine.
Not a specific brand.
Yeah, no. Off-label.
Off-label. Was confiscated on an MSC container. And they've got, I believe, 5 of the crew members have already been sentenced so far.
That's
a cumulative total of over 40 years between the 5 of them. They believe there's at least 8 crew members that were involved. So, quick summary here. The chief mate, he somehow got involved, this is years ago, working for a group, and they were smuggling drugs in. And by the way, the amount, I say the largest, not 20 tons, that has an approximate value of $1 billion.
With a B.
With a B.
With a B.
For reference, the MSC ship was cost around $100 million to make, and that handles just under 12,000 TEU. So 10 times the value of the entire ship was the value of this cargo, and it was only in a couple of containers, man.
That's crazy.
That's unreal. So yeah, so they busted them, and this happened a couple of years ago, but finally the story's coming out now that all the details are taken care of. It was a part of a big drug smuggling ring, and and they were trying to get stuff here. I think they've officially caught them in about 2 years ago, so in June of 2019. And you know what else happened? Really big deal 2 years ago. I started at FreightWaves, but slightly off topic.
And that was as of yesterday, or last week?
As of 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
2 years.
2 years ago, 2 days ago.
With a COVID year and a FreightWaves startup year, that might as well be be 5 to 6 years.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like I'm basically senior staff at this point. Without the title and the pay and any of the importance, I'm big.
Hey, whenever I get up on my sales calls, what am I telling people? Well, I am one of the most senior guys here.
That's right. That is not a lie.
It is not a lie.
Well, and think about sonar. So all I do here is I sell sonar and then talk about whatever we talk about. But sonar in particular, I started selling that right away. So 2019, that product only launched a year before I started.
Right.
So I've been here nearly 70% of the lifespan of sonar.
Yeah.
I've been selling sonar that amount of time.
So. No, that is, and there's only really a couple people that have been here longer than us.
Only a couple.
So it's definitely wild, and it's been growing at an astronomical pace. But in addition to that, I mean, big old drug bust.
Big old drug bust.
In addition to that, FedEx is in just this entire week. We saw last week that worldwide and global trans merge.
Yeah.
It pretty much got forgotten about because FedEx just announced that they cut off 1,400 customers.
And let's provide a little context here.
1,400.
So, massive number, and you're going to give us how significant that is to their revenue in a minute.
Yeah.
But we've been talking for a while about the supply and the demand of the market and how crazy everything's been. This is where, like, when things just stay at this level for so long, things like this happen.
Right. No, exactly, and it does. And so, from a demand perspective, that is so true. You have, for a company that is what FedEx is, I mean, they are servicing thousands of lanes, so many customers. But to put this in perspective, 1,400 customers accounts for about 8% of their daily bills. And I mean, imagine you're in that C-suite discussing this, like, oh yeah, we're just gonna cut off these ones. Why? Because there's just so much demand. We have the pick of the litter. We can choose exactly what is most profitable for us, what is the best density for us, and where it's gonna allow us on our balance sheet and to be the best company we can be. But that's not just happening there. It's happening really across, whether or not you're an owner-operator, whether or not you're a small carrier up to some of the larger fleets, you're able to choose more what you want to do, and because there's just there's not a lack of supply, or there's not a lack of demand. There is a lack of supply, but it's absolutely insane what FedEx has done, because it's turning a lot of people into like, okay, well, it's not a price game anymore.
It's not.
You can't just throw money at people and think that, oh yeah, I'm going to take that lane. If it doesn't fit their network, they're going to tell you, sorry, sayonara.
So Kyle, help me understand here. So they're getting rid of these 1,400 customers. Obviously, they probably aren't a good fit. They wouldn't be doing it that way. They're a smart company, but it's getting rid of 8% of their daily bills, or can we stretch and say 8% of their revenue?
I think that's an accurate stretch.
Maybe not exactly,
Don't
but kind of
quote us, but yeah.
plus or minus.
Yeah.
Maybe somewhere there. And if that's true, even if it's not 8%, even if it's half of that number, right? That would account for approximately $5.5 billion in revenue for them.
It's insane. But XPO, another great company, has been known to do that as well.
Yeah.
Invest where you need to, divest when you have to.
Yeah.
And so this is where it's going to really come to play. And so we're seeing that. I mean, that's a big player in the LTL space. And additionally, I mean, a lot of the line haul effect. There's a lot of these LTL carriers will have that line haul outsourced by other companies.
Right.
And so it's really going to have a trickle down effect. But it's also going to open up a ton of opportunity. So, for other carriers out there, that's why it's so important to understand where these shifts are happening and where you have the best negotiating leverages, because there's large carriers that can't fulfill all of this freight. And so that's why with Sonar becomes extremely impactful. One of which you brought up, one market of which that you brought up that FedEx also has a good foothold in, is going to be the Atlanta market.
That's right.
I mean, UPS and FedEx really battle with each other over that market, but the Atlanta market over the past 2 months has gone from a backhaul market, being that there is a significant amount of supply. There's more supply of trucks in that market than there are trucks available in that market. It flipped on its head. Now it's a head haul market. Now there is more demand there than there is trucks. So there's more for the carriers out there. There's more opportunity. There's more ways for you to push your leverage into a way to bring more rate per mile or a higher rate per mile to your doorstep. And so what's happening now? We're seeing those rate per miles on the spot market just go up and to the right. I mean, just completely shoot up it's Atlanta to Chicago, Atlanta to Philly, Atlanta to Dallas. And what's happening now around those markets, Decatur, Chattanooga, Memphis, all of these surrounding markets are now struggling because of what? There's a higher rate per mile in Atlanta.
Right. And something along with this, we're going to show this to you in just a second. We've got HDMI here is being a little finicky today, but we're working on it. We're going to throw it up in just a minute. What Kyle's talking about is you have a market the size of Atlanta. That's a big mover. Here it is right here. So folks, take a look at this. So the blue line, exactly what Kyle's talking about, that's your outbound volume daily over the last year. The purple line is your daily inbound volume, so the loads coming into Atlanta. So we see, what's that? What would you say? Pretty much most of September of 2020 through, let's call it, I don't know,
May
let's just say this year?
Remember when we were talking to...
September to May of this year, so almost a full year, about 9 months.
Well, remember we were talking to Mr. Larkin a couple weeks back, and really that new norm was like February.
Right.
So the normal that we're all used to is like that late February point.
Right, late February.
So since then, it's been a backhaul market.
So when you see the purple line above the blue line, it's a backhaul market. When you see the blue line above the purple line, it's a head haul market.
Right.
And only recently, like in the middle of May, so just over a month ago, we saw it flip, and the purple line went down, meaning there's less volume coming in, but the blue line maintained, and there's more volume going out.
Right.
So that has tightened up capacity. That's created a load imbalance, is what you're saying.
Happened on a freaking dime. I mean, you saw it go right at the beginning of May, and then demand just complete. So you actually saw a fall in supply. So at the beginning of May, you saw a dip in supply. Demand stayed consistent, and then we saw that demand just shoot right up right before Memorial Day.
Boom.
And has maintained, and then supply has continued to just fall off. And so that's why, obviously, it's with Sonar. What are we talking about? We're talking about our specific data, and that's why getting into the supply and demand, dissecting this into this granularity is so important, because if you don't know that's going to happen, how are you going to figure it out? There's only a couple ways. One, it's opportunity cost. You're gonna waste time in those markets, or hopefully you're not hurting for cash right now. You're going to make some bad decisions that are going to cause you to go into the red. And so that's where this data, specifically what we just looked at right there, is so crucial, because then you can make that decision really quick. It's not just, all of a sudden, I don't know what's happening. Luke, Mr. Shipper, I'm really sorry, but I need more money. Well, you negotiated that. That's your rate. Sorry, that's your fault. Like, what do you do in that situation? That's why it's so important.
Got to know what's going on so you can make those decisions, right? I mean, I was talking with a shipper today, and and this is great because when you have situations like that where capacity gets tight and things do start to flip, you start to have a struggle between, hey, do we give more notice? Is that going to help with capacity? What can we do to just help alleviate some of that pain? So one of the shippers I was talking with today, he said on average, we're only giving 1 day notice. So I pulled up the market, and this was the Chicago market. And on average, shippers right now are giving loads out 2.8 days in advance. So almost 3 days in advance is the notice. And I tell them, listen, you're giving 1 day notice. Everybody else is giving almost 3 days notice.
Yeah.
You are essentially competing for way less capacity than everybody else. All those other carriers, they have loads available at the time. Capacity's tight in Chicago right now. We know that. Okay, we can pull it up on the screen. But the point is that here's a great map of it. So this is a capacity map of the United States. This is a new.
I was going to say, don't just like blow right past this. What are we even looking at?
You know what, Kyle? Why don't you explain this to the people here real quick?
So what we're looking at, and this is
capacity trend scores.
So this is our capacity trend logic. And so what we've been able to curate over the past 3 years that Sonar's really been available is to allow our data scientists to dissect this tender data, supply and demand, sentiment from the carriers, where there's more opportunity, where there's less opportunity. Now we've finally dissected this into a single composite score. And so what this trend logic will tell you is when there's tightening markets, where is that change happening?
Yeah.
And to do it just like that, just so quick, so you don't have to say, well, Kyle, I'm no analyst. I can't look at supply and demand and then sentiment and then put that all together in my own and try to figure it out. That's what we've done for you right here.
Exactly. So in essence, the lower score here means that it's tighter. A higher score means that it's looser. All right? There's different ways to look at it. That's how it looks on this particular filter view. But so keep in mind here, if you are in the lighter color areas, that's going to be a more difficult market for a shipper. All right? That's a better market for a carrier. If you're in a dark colored area, that's going to be an easier market for a shipper, but a more difficult market from a carrier's perspective. Again, speaking on the capacity side. So again, going back to our Chicago example, we see Chicago up there right around the lakes. It's very light colored, meaning capacity is very tight from a shipper's perspective. So, excuse me, if they're giving only 1 day notice when the market's giving almost 3 days notice, they're having to buy capacity when there's way less capacity available. So that's a great time to go to your guys that are preparing a lot of those shipments, right?
Right.
And tell them, like, listen, if we can get these loads taken care of 3 days in advance, that's going to save us a ton of money. Now we're not competing with the same capacity as everybody else. We got a head start on it.
No, exactly. And Greg Finnerty from Concept Logistics that we had on a couple weeks ago, that's exactly because they work in a very niche area. So what do they need to understand? They don't necessarily. I'm not going to tell them the right price. I'm not going to tell them exactly what the rate per mile needs to be, but having those metrics that we get from that tender data to be able to see not only supply and demand, where's these loads picking up, where are they delivering to, whether or not carriers are accepting or rejecting that, but we get that tender date versus actual pickup date, which gives us that tender lead time. And it's so crucial, and it's just another benchmarking piece. It's just another way to use this outside of just pre-price discovery. It's like, how do we make you more attractive? Let's put a little bit of makeup on that pig. Why don't we just do your hair a little bit, like that's what we're providing to the shippers, and it allows you to be really unique in how you use this, and fortunately, hopefully, keep your job if you're a shipper, because
well, it's strategic too, right? So let's say you're a shipper, okay? You're a transportation manager, whatever your title is, and you're blowing the budget. And listen, you can point to everything and say, listen, rates are up for everybody, volume's up, okay, we get all that, but at the end of the day, maybe your executive team is like, listen, we need to lower transportation costs somehow. How are we going to do that? And you can point to something like this and say, listen, if we can give more notice, if the guys in the warehouse, if they're able to push products through faster, get the shipments ready for us to load them on the trucks faster, on average 2 days faster, then we'll have a lot more capacity available. We'll be able to drive pricing down. Are we going to be able to drop pricing down to like 2019 levels? Of course not. It's super elevated right now. But you'll be in a better position than you are right now. And that's what it's all about. It's about beating the market.
Well, exactly. And it's another interesting point to that is just you're having to be more attractive. You're having to show what you can offer. It's for a shipper, and we're fortunately working with a lot of shippers right now. You know, Sonar used to be this product that was a nice to have for brokers and carriers, and now it's a necessity for them. And now shippers are getting into this mix because it's a unified conversation. It's now saying, well, what are the tender rejections doing? What are the volumes actually doing? And people are having those conversations together. One of our top shippers, you know, Fortune 100. I mean, they are one of the biggest CPG CPG companies in the United States. We're doing some really good work with them. We have found out that on their premium lanes, the lanes that they pay the highest amount on, the lanes that they said, we're throwing money because we need service at, they're actually getting less service.
Yeah.
So they're having a higher percentage of freight hit the spot market in those high premium lanes than they are the low premium lanes.
That's a shipper's worst nightmare. You're paying more for worse service.
Don't let finance see that. Like, holy
I'm
crap.
paying more for worse
You're saying
service.
I'm overpaying on this lane and I'm having more freight fall to the spot market. It's exactly what happens. And it just ties back to what happened with FedEx. It's not just, do you want more money? It's, does it fit in my network?
Yeah, that's so true. It's so true. You have to find, as a shipper, you have to find carriers that fit in your network. And same thing, if you're a carrier or a broker, you have to find shippers that work in your network.
Right.
Yeah, this is something, when I was in the 3PL world, we ran into this all the time. There were so many guys there. They would get a bid from a shipper, and they'd be like, "I'm gonna quote everything. I'm gonna do everything. This is me. I'm gonna win everything from the shipper." Why? Right. You're creating a headache for yourself. So that way, you're having to charge a lot on certain lanes that aren't optimal for your network. Be a champion for a piece of their network that you know that you can kill better than anybody else. Like, do that. Same thing on the shipper side, right? Find the guys, find the carriers that are best made for certain pieces of your network. I remember talking to a carrier, or to a shipper, excuse me. This is a big shipper. This is one of the largest auto manufacturers in the world.
Pat yourself on the back on that one.
Yeah. Anyways, and what they said, they have 3 providers.
Yeah, that's crazy.
For their domestic truckload operation. They have 3
Probably got like a 3-year contract on them, like a 5-year contract on those lanes. So
actually,
archaic.
yes.
Yeah.
Like legitimately, one of them, they said that, listen, we work with these 3 providers, they take care of us, whatever. I'm like, what do you mean they take care of you? They're charging you through the roof, everything. They're like, yeah, but they get the loads moved. No joke.
They know our business.
No joke. One of them just dropped off. They had a 3-year contract, and one of the providers said, no, we're not servicing you anymore.
That's crazy. That's like a top 3 auto manufacturer.
That's top 3 auto manufacturer. And I've been telling them for months. They came back to me and said that, and I've been telling them for months, like, listen, on these lanes in your network, you need to use this because you're weak here. I was like, you're right. You may not be exposed to some of these market conditions yet, but you will be. Eventually, the tree is going to shake, and it did. And you just lost 33% of your capacity.
No, and it's crazy. And so, you know, not only is that happening. So what are we looking at? We're looking at this perfect storm of demand, but we're additionally looking at the suppliers of capacity telling you, nah, I ain't doing it. It ain't about money anymore. And so it's gonna really cause a lot of issues downstream because it's not ending. All these companies who we were talking to at the beginning of this year who said, oh, summertime, we're gonna get that lull that we always see. And what's going to happen? We're going to see softening. We're going to see everything kind of come back. Some of our rates are going to be lowered. So we're just okay with taking a higher rate right now because by Q3, Q4, we'll see those rates come back. It's like,
speaking of downstream.
Hope you weren't holding your breath there, champ.
Speaking of downstream, whitewater rafting, kayaking, the whitewater kayaking Olympics race.
Full circle.
Pretty cool.
5 circles.
Just saying, it's pretty cool.
pretty cool.
No, it's like skiing. So like, you know, the downhill skiing, you got to dodge all the little flag things. It's like that, but they do that for kayaking.
Absolutely scares me.
I'm like, not even kidding. Like, they got to like dodge this stuff as they're going through. They got to hit stuff and everything. They're just wild. I don't know what they're doing. I would have drowned, and I know how to swim, but I would have drowned because I'll be like, I would have died. Yeah. Anyways, beside the point. Off topic. But downstream. Speaking of Olympics,
downstream.
again, I'm gonna keep talking about the Olympics. They added a new event. They added a handful of events this year, but one of the big ones that they added that I've never had in the Olympics before was speed climbing. Have you ever seen speed climbing?
Wild. I have seen it.
So I started doing some rock climbing, and it takes me like 17 minutes to like climb like 4 feet. But like these dudes, like they literally just climb up a wall, and the wall like does like one of those. They got to climb up like that, and I don't even know how to explain it.
No, it's. I mean, you think of a massive wall, and it's just as fast as you can right up.
Oh yeah, it's unbelievable the things that they do. But anyways, most important part of the show, we got some TikToks coming up, don't we?
Don't we? Do we? Yes, we do. Well, you know what? Let's give that. So let's finalize what we're saying. So demand's at its all-time hiatus.
Yeah, it is.
Suppliers of capacity are pretty much telling you to get lost. And then additionally,
that was a really nice
it
way
ain't
of saying
stopping. Did you think I was going to say it another way? Oh, no. George, I wouldn't say it that way, I swear. And then additionally, it's not going to stop anytime soon. We got Amazon Day coming up. We got the bookings continue to go up and to the right. We're just seeing a continuation of demand. So if you're gonna do anything, you got to get creative. You got to know your historicals, and you got to pretty much use sonar data.
When you have such an elevated level of demand prolonged for this long, this period of time, you have situations where the carriers, where the pendulum swings in their favor so much. I don't know if we've ever seen it swing this far in their advantage.
It's still swinging.
And it's still going to the point where they are now telling their customers no. They're literally leaving some of their shippers out dry.
They got that FU money now.
Such an extreme. Anyways, good stuff here. So
great stuff. Great stuff.
Now time for the fun stuff.
Ooh.
The TikToks. We're gonna react to a couple of them here. Let's see what we got. Oh, they're on the screen right there. How about that?
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me.
Oh, that
You're
is
not
me
that
to
guy.
a T.
Okay.
That is me to a T. You gotta check. But you gotta check. Hey, listen, ball's probably like 6 feet in the woods back there, but you never know. You may have holed one out.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me.
Because I
You're
have
not
actually
that guy.
done that before.
Okay. See what you did there? That's me to a T.
Oh.
Hey, this guy.
You really drove that one through.
Hey, come on. We'll be here next week, folks. Let's see what we got here. I got sent this video, and I can't survive.
Oh my God.
But true statement, cats laying on their feet. You saw it. Though the sound is so good with that. Love it. Okay.
That makes me want a cat, and then I remind myself that I don't like cats.
To my cat after one.
And then she tried to do it again, and I was like, "Are you dumb?" Because that just doesn't make sense. Like it just wasn't getting through to her. That everything that was.
Cat's face says it all.
Yeah.
Also, gooder.
When that's me explaining my pipeline to my manager right there.
I thought, before the sound started, I thought that was a picture, but then I saw the eyes move ever so slightly.
Literally.
Dude, that
so
is
Luke,
nuts.
why is this deal not closing this month?
Oh, here we go.
Dude, can you imagine having that amount of leaves
That
to
dog
pick up?
didn't even hesitate.
Dude, I would,
Saw
being a
those
homeowner,
leaves.
Get me down south because I do not want to have to deal with that many leaves. No, I said being a homeowner.
Oh.
Like, I can sympathize with that.
You got a tiny yard. There's no way you have that many leaves in your yard in the fall.
Huge yard.
Dude, no. You got a city boy yard.
I do, so do you.
True.
And I actually don't have any big trees in my yard.
Neither do I, actually. Most of the trees are around me.
Thank
It's
God.
not too bad.
Thank
Although,
God.
I'm going to be honest, I had just few enough leaves that I didn't rake them. I just had to run over them with the lawnmower once or twice. And
Just had to hold your breath a little bit?
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. But
All
anyways,
right, awesome.
It's about the end of the show. We'll be here next week. Olympic trials for swimming will be over by the end of next
We'll
week.
give you an Olympic
But
update next week.
Track and field will be going on next week, so we'll have some of those updates for you. In the meantime, folks, thanks for joining. Enjoy your week. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Wednesday live, 3:30 p.m. Luke and Kyle on with Sonar. Take care.